My name's Andy Polaine. I'm English. I was born in Colchester in the UK. Then I lived and worked and studied in London. Then I went to Australia for 7 years, and I'm also Australian now. And now I live in Germany, and I work just over the border in Switzerland. So I'm a service and interaction designer, but mainly service design stuff now, writer, lecturer, and researcher. I've been involved in sort of working and communicating online for a long time, since about mid-90s really, I guess. In terms of sort of professional work, I started collaborating with a guy called Rick Bennett in Australia at the University of New South Wales in about 98, where he asked me to take part in a thing that he then called the virtual design studio. And we soon got rid of the virtual bit because we realised it was very real. But which was a collaboration between 50 students and 3 mentors, of which I was one of them, online. In 99, I think the actual project happened. And so, it's been something that's been part of the way I work for a long time, and I work a lot remotely now. I still teach to Australia, actually, from here. I have. I mean, lots over how long is that? 14, 15 years now. And but it was kind of an extension of the way we were working already in a group, a design studio that I co-founded in London called Anti-ROM. And we used a thing called Hotline in those days. It was like a kind of little server client setup, but it had a sort of chat thing and stuff and a file sharing thing. And it was a way for us to... we had these 2 layers of communication in the studio. So, I'd send a little, as you do now with Twitter or email, I'd send a little stupid message to the person sitting next to me. But then when I was away somewhere, I'd dial in, and I'd still have that sort of aspect of the sort of studio culture and access to files and things. And so the sort of extension of that was these sort of global things working online, mainly with text and making it easy to upload video and stuff. And now that it seems really obvious, but back then it was really new. And nowadays, back then you had to tell people to fill in a profile and what that meant and all that kind of stuff. Whereas now, everyone knows that stuff already. You can hook existing systems into existing accounts and everything. Now I tend to work online remotely a lot because I live in a small town in Germany. So, and we just wrote this book on service design with Ben Reason in London and Lavrans Lovely in Oslo, and most of that was a mixture of email, Basecamp and Dropbox as the sort of tools, and occasionally Skype. And I still teach, as I said, online. I use a platform called Omnium, which developed out this. Rick Bennett and his team developed out this early project. I use Skype quite a lot for one-to-one chats. I find it pretty awful for larger groups, because it's just too much kind of, hello, can you hear me? No, okay, you speak. No, wait a minute, no, and all that stuff. And sometimes it's easier to maybe just have audio. Sometimes it's easier to restrict the bandwidth. So what you do is you have like text going on, sort of multiple text chat or something, and then you're swapping files or something, or maybe you have that alongside some kind of screen sharing, I think. Sometimes, having video and trying to emulate face-to-face doesn't really play to the strengths of working remotely. Sometimes text is more powerful or more useful because it's sort of asynchronous. For younger designers, this obviously, this just isn't new at all, really. It's just part of the tool set that they have. And even sort of 10 years ago, people were pinging back files backwards and forwards and working on stuff. And I think that maybe it's because of my experience in Australia, where distance is such a natural part of the thing, that if you work with someone in Australia, you might work between Melbourne and Sydney, and it's as far as, Perth and Sydney is as far as Dublin and Moscow. It's a huge country. So I think that distance you get used to. Here in Germany, there's sort of cultural aspects. I find here in Germany and perhaps in Switzerland, companies are much more keen to have people working on site than remotely. And the last thing is, the promise of sort of teleworking was that people wouldn't have to travel much, and in fact I find I travel more because I've connected with more people at a distance, and so in the end you do end up meeting with them, and it's a John Thacker talks about this a bit in The Bubble. in his book, In the Bubble, you know, that in fact it has the sort of opposite effect. You get involved in things that you wouldn't normally be able to get involved in. And my job is 2.5 hours away on the train, and so I'd never even thought of doing that before it was possible to work remotely.